Well, my clock says 11, so I'm going to start. Welcome to a Map Business Online community webinar. My name is Jeffrey Ives. I'm the president at Map Business Online. And today we're going to focus on creating a demographic map and then adding some value to that map through both data import and map optimization. We will not be building territories today, but there is a full webinar on territories available in our YouTube library. That's a popular subject. I'm going to insert some tips about general business mapping as we move along. And I'll also try to take chat questions at the end. And there will be a recording of the webinar available. It takes a few days, sometimes to a week for the service to provide that, but that will be available and we'll email that out. So on my laptop, and this is my new laptop, so I'm kind of doing this for the first time on my new laptop, which always creates a few bumps. But on my laptop, I have Map Business Online open. I'm not looking at that right now on my laptop. We're looking at the PowerPoint, and it's open to a blank screen. And I have all the layers of the map from map and data turned off. And I do this to suggest that no specific map layer is required for a business map, not any one in particular. What is required is that any geographic, business, or demographic information that you include in your map should add value to that map. That value should support your map's intent. And that's basically the point I'm trying to make more than anything else in this webinar. So let's create a demographic map. I'm going to run through a few points before we go to the map. So let's keep our minds open regarding map layers. Let's always keep your map's intent and the map audience in mind when you're creating your business maps. Try a variety of map layers to determine which map layers are best for your map approach. Work to optimize your map's look and feel, so to make sure that people feel comfortable looking at your map and they're getting your map's purpose. Avoid map clutter at all times and superfluous text lines. Like anything else in business, you want to make sure that your text makes sense. You check the spelling, that you maybe rename file names. We'll look at that a little bit. And so the business map you create reflects on you. So why would a business use a demographic map? There's a whole lot of businesses that use demographic mapping all the time. And some examples would be real estate for sales projections, political analysis in general, political and government maps. I think I've got points here. Restaurant, retail, and other consumer-focused businesses for market analysis, which is really a very common reason why people use demographic maps in Map Business Online. Insurance companies and banks that are researching investments or conducting risk assessments. Franchise businesses that are trying to justify their franchise to a franchisee. You know, what's the opportunity? And they like to see the demographics. Medical systems expansion planning is another common application. So those are all reasons why people might use a demographic map. And so we're at the end of the webinar, you know, afterwards you can send your feedback. We're going to move to the map here shortly. And the one other thing I wanted to just mention is I do have a puppy Yorkshire Terrier who explodes every now and again. I've got a little shish kebab Chewy at the ready. So hopefully if she gets rambunctious, I can take care of that. So let's go to the map view. And like I said, I had a blank screen intended to highlight that for you map creators, that any layer is available to provide core map data for your project. The purpose of this map that I'm going to bring up is to show class distinction by area. Basically, it's median income. I want to show sort of a median income gradation across some map layer. In the end, I did choose cities and towns, so the city limits layer by median income. And in a way, the map is one way to describe cities as predominantly populated by either lower, middle, or upper class populations. So that's why I'm starting this map, this demographic demonstration using median income. So we could use any of the layers that are available to us here in Map and Data are the checkboxes where we can turn things on and off, such as zip codes. So I can turn it on and off. I can click into the edit gear and I can change my zip code boundaries and the colors of my zip codes to reflect maybe a better view of zip codes in general. But I don't really think zip codes are great for median income, so I'm not going to use them in this particular map. Counties and zip codes are jurisdiction maps that aren't necessarily, in my opinion, directly related to median income. What does, just so you know, the county layer is also another layer I could choose here. And while we're here, if you ever lose Map and Data, it's always right there. Click that little arrow and up it comes. But what I do like is the city limits layer. And actually the city limits layer, I was going to remove it and leave it up here, which is my map layer. But so city limits isn't always there by default. It's up here in the map layer button. So I click map layers and I grab city limits and I add it to the map. And up it comes. Now, even the city limits layer at a full nationwide level kind of leaves some, it's open to consideration in terms of how valuable it is. I think that for the most part, while I'm looking at median income, I'm probably going to drill into an area that I'm familiar with so that I can kind of get a sense of how the map is looking as I develop my map layer. So just checking. I wanted to mention as a tip, sort of as an aside here, that when I use Map Business Online, and you can see I'm using my little expansion zoom in and out button here. I use that off and on all the time. In Map and Data, I leave the drop down on custom view. You do have other options here, and often people who start out in Map and Data, Map Business Online, will go to like one of the options, like zip code view. I recommend staying on custom view. Those views are there for users that are doing that same map over and over again. They're always building zip code maps, and then it may be more convenient for them to just grab that zip code view. I keep it on custom view. It's better for troubleshooting. It's better for, you know, seeing all the options for layers. All right, so we did look at zip codes. I'm gonna go into the city limits layer now, and we're gonna think about how we want to access the demographic data and then color code it by zip code layer, by city limits layer. The boundary button up here and the city limits under edit map properties here, color code map layer are the exact same function. So you could actually do color coding on the boundary layer here, the zip code layer, any of these layers by clicking in here and clicking the edit gear or going up here to the boundary button. I generally go to the boundary button. It's what I'm used to. I click next. And this brings up any data that you might want to color code the map by. And it's got demographic data populated because there's nothing else selected on the map for right now. So it defaults to demographic data. And I have been working with the median household income, which is why that's coming up as sort of a default for me. I want to mention that Map Business Online has got a lot of demographic data in here. I'm sure a lot of you have looked through it. And up to the top, you'll find we've got 2021 and 2020. Those are projection layers in Map Business Online. So that first 2 years will shift when we get the next release from the Census Bureau. But right now, 2019 is the layer of choice for somebody who wants to do actual census releases and the most recent one. And you can see there's an awful lot of data in there. It's income data, it's population, it's ethnicity, marital statuses, travel time to work. It goes on and on. Let me see if I can find my median income again. So we're going to use household median income, and it's just up at the top here, past 2019. And before I go beyond discussing where all my demographic data is, I know everybody's waiting for the release from the decennial count. Are expecting to get the next census data release sometime late spring 2022. And we will then have to take about a month to get it into Map Business Online. So there's my median income. So it's selected here. And now I want to color code. Now I can take Map Business Online's suggested color coding options. For instance, if I go to 5 ranges, you have up to 100 ranges here. I rarely go more than 5. And I don't recommend that anybody go more than 5 unless they know a lot about their data. They know exactly how they want to shade things. It's an awful lot for a map viewer to ingest when you get into a whole bunch of colors. In fact, for this, I could just grab whatever Map Business Online says and click it, and then I'd have a map with color codes. That sometimes works, but I usually find I need to tweak it. And so it's easy to go back, just grab it again, and I'm going to go to 4. And I'm going to mention that down in the lower right, this numeric number, Map Business Online pre-populates for you. And that number tells you the jurisdiction that has the largest amount of median income from that demographic category in it. And in this case, it's 250,001. If we're color coding by points, you'll see the same thing. That tells you which point has the most quantity in it. And that's good because it gives you a sort of range to guide yourself. And so what I do usually is I change that from 0 to 1. I don't want any towns with 0 income to be showing up, which not that they would in this particular analysis, but typically I'm going to start my numeric range at 1. And then I might go 35,000 and 35,001, and then move it up like that. I think I started this way. So all of these are flexible enough so that you can adjust these yourself with ease, and then you can go in and adjust your color coding to your liking. Maybe we want a lighter pink, maybe we don't want gray, maybe we don't want, we want to put red at the bottom. So you have all those options right there, and if you've got the ChromeX numbers, you can actually type those in. So that's pretty cool. You also have schemes for gradations. If we wanted to do it like just a gradual yellow to orange, we could choose that. I like this approach for this particular analysis. And so I picked one, and now we've got our first color code scheme on the map that we've designed. And I've already decided I don't like it enough. I don't see enough lower income. So I know I've got to go back and tweak it again. And so I'm doing this to show you guys that sometimes it takes a little tweaking to get your numbers right. So I believe what I decided in the long run was that I wanted maybe my low income to be there, and then my median income, a middle sort of range for middle class, and then 65001 up to 95, and then I had higher level incomes here. And then we click done. And I wanted to see gray coming up in lower sort of tier communities for income. So you can see we've got Newburgh and we've got Patterson, and I think if I go down a little bit lower, Newark. And so we've got some working class communities that are showing up as gray. And I chose gray deliberately because I wanted to reflect that gray was not, it's not red and exciting and in the blue and in the pink. I wanted it to reflect the lower income. So that's what I did. So I've got gray, pink, light blue, and dark blue representing my median incomes and it's, there's a map legend that's automatically assigned. Now the map legend is completely editable. And so that is one of the things I recommend people do when they're color coding a demographic map is edit the map legend so that things are succinct on the legend. And actually this is pretty good the way it is now. I don't have any extra numbers in here or labels in there. It's a one layer text at the top describing it. All that's completely editable, so I can get rid of that space if I want. I can change that to median, and I think people can look at that and understand what it says. You could also go in and add some text down here and make it whatever you want. Just redoing it. And then change it. So that will show up there on the map. So we've got a color-coded demographic scheme on the map based on city limits. Our city limits are coming up now and are showing a color in the fill. But let's go back to city limits and optimize the way the cities appear. I always do this. I go in and I make the boundaries dark, and look at how that pops. It pops the map out right away. It kind of makes it easier on the eyes just to view it. So that's one thing that I always recommend, is looking at your boundaries and thinking about it. You've got a transparency button here. There's no background map at this point in time, but you can see as you move that transparency button around, things pop a little bit more as well. So you've got that as an option. Another option is to actually move to the state function and turn that on. So the state is great for referential, just where am I? Am I looking at Connecticut? Am I looking at New York? Am I looking at Rhode Island? States help you with that. But states aren't necessarily, they shouldn't take too much of the attention away from your map viewer. So what I like to do is make that background invisible or uncheck the fill. And notice what happens if I take my state layer here and I grab it with my mouse and I just bring it up. It gets rid of that fill. So you do have the ability to move these layers up and down, and it can change the way your map looks. And sometimes when people don't have transparency turned on, they'll turn on a layer and it'll trump everything else. Like if I turn on the zip code layer, it just is too much. And so you can move things around, and that can help. Another thing I would do to the state layer is, again, I would go in and look at the boundary, and I think I would maybe go like with a dark blue on the state. I could even go into the state labels and think about, do I want that black Massachusetts there? Or maybe I just want to make it a little less obvious. If you're looking for it, you can see Massachusetts. And maybe I don't like that white little boundary around the letters. So you've got the shadow. You can turn that off and on. And I could get rid of the italics, and I could make it smaller too. Those are some things you can do to optimize your map. Your map viewers. Checking my notes here. So we've done some color coding. We've adjusted the map legend. We've got some borders adjusted, custom map label. So another function that you have at your disposal, and this would be good for the city limits right now, is you have the ability to go in, click that edit gear. Again, I'm going to go back and just, again, click that edit gear, edit map layer properties. You have general, which is where we've been editing the actual color and the boundaries, and the labels are down here. So if I click general, there's my boundary and there's my color code map. But I click labels, and now I can format the labels. Now there's two labels that we typically format by map layer: auto label or custom label. And an auto label, Pittsfield is an auto label. Where it says Worcester in black, that's an auto label. A custom label is where it pops up. Now I could take my auto label and I could just grab the first thing that comes up in demographic data, the population projection in 2001, put a little text in there to let people know what it means, and click change label. And that populates, and Jeff didn't do it right. I'm going to go back and do that again. We're going to do that under auto label. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to adjust demographic data, pop. Sometimes it's tricky making sure you're clicked into auto or custom label. So now you can see that population shows up under the auto label. And I don't like it. I think it makes the map too busy. So I'm going to just go back to it and uncheck it, get rid of it, click change labels, And what I had done already was I had formatted the custom label by putting population there. You can see I've got that there. So custom label is simply when you point to that town, you have a pop-up. And you can see the population is there because I plugged that in. And the median income is there because that was what we based our color code on for each city limit. I like that because if you share the map, someone can hover over that map and see that pop up. And it gives you sort of something to identify your map purpose by. The other thing we can do now that we've got a color code that we feel great about is we can look at the streets and other options here. There is some other options for background map. So if we turn on the street layer, we've got that option. And we do have a satellite option in there as well. I think the streets map layer is really great. I think it works well for this particular map. Now, if in some cases with demographic maps, you could go without. You don't necessarily have to have a background layer. And just so that you know, under map options, you do have the ability to actually change that background color. So you could make the background color, we don't want to conflict with anything, but we could make it that. But I think I was kind of happy with the color I had before. And in fact, I'm not going to worry about it too much because I'm going to turn the street layer on. So the street layer comes up with some highways and a couple of other things. You've got a little bit of topography there. You've got a little background information for the map. And as long as it doesn't interfere with your points on the map, with your intent, then that's a good thing. So we've edited the map legend. You can place the map legend wherever you want. I usually look for a place that's not got a lot of information on it. So in the ocean is great when you're on the edge of the ocean. So the next thing we might want to think about for adding value to our map is points. We may have some location data that we want to bring into the map. And Map Business Online does provide you with some business listing information up here. So that's a yellow page icon. You can click on that. And these are purchased at 15 cents a piece, but there are business listings there. And as an example, when you click at the above master toolbar business listings function and start looking for data, it's going to give you the entire USA's worth of data. If you wanted to create a circle or a polygon, you can see you can actually investigate the business listings available within a selected segment of the country. But I'm just going to leave it wide open to look at one example. So let's say we wanted to get hospitals for the entire nation. We can search by industry. And the industry codes are either NAICS or SIC codes. You may have heard of that, National Association of Industrial Controls, something industrial controls. So let's just go NAICS. You can click the industry lookup and look up by keyword. The industry list has a number of digits in it, and they're kind of categorized. I would go full on with the 6-digit lookup, and then I would type in hospitals. And then I would click that little binocular icon and go down, and you can see general medical supply and surgical hospitals. That's pretty much what I would have been after. You bring that into the search criteria here, update search criteria, and then you can actually investigate the count. So I click the word count down here, and it tells me 71,364. So you can download those right away. It's going to put dots on the map. You'll have some basic information about those organizations and contact information. Again, 15 cents each. It's something to consider. You can limit your expense by focusing on a circle or a polygon or a zip code or a city limit. So you do have options for going in and adjusting things. You can see here, we could look up by zip code, by city, or by state. And you can create your own polygons, and that means you get out of this and go back in and search that way. But I didn't find, I wanted to really get some homeless information. And when I searched for homeless information in the business listings function, if I clear all here, start over, I was able to go in actually and find through industry lookup some information in business listings on homeless shelters. There it is, brought it over, and then I said update search results, and then I got a count, 352. And I thought, well, that's not so good. So there must be some high level of homeless shelters that the NAICS organization tracks. There was more in SIC, but there weren't nearly enough to satisfy what I was looking for. So I went out and grabbed some data on the Google search. And I just wanted another sort of tip. When I was looking for location data on homeless shelters, I put in homeless shelters location data, and I wasn't getting anything back. But when I put in homeless shelters.xls file, so an XLS Microsoft Excel file, then I got the mother load. And I was able to download that onto my desktop, and we're going to import that data. I've already got it imported onto the map because I'm only going to show you the process here. So we click the dataset button. You've got the file on your desktop somewhere, and we get our little plot data presentation that goes through these buckets and how you can bring in your data. Gives you some help information here. And then we click next, and I'm going to go in from file. So I'm going to just browse to where my data is, and I made sure it was ready for me before we get on here. So it's going right to it. And you can see my name of the file, 2020-HIC-raw, blah, blah, blah. We always have weird names. That's why I've changed it. In the map view over here, you can see I've got homeless shelter. I changed the name to it. And that's just to make it more readable for my audience. I want to make sure that map is optimized. No funny business if we can avoid it. So then I click open once I select it. All right. And now I click next. And that's MapBusinessOnline is going to run through this data and bring it back up for us to process into MapBusinessOnline. Doesn't take too long, but it's a 25,000 record data set. So it does take us a few seconds to run through. Once it's in, I always go through and make sure that all of this addressing matching between the data set and MapBusinessOnline is working well. And you can see it found the COC state. Sometimes if you have a weird column heading, it might not find it. And MapBusinessOnline does give you sort of a preview of the data down below. But there's nothing funny here. And so I'm good. I'm going to go to the next screen. And this is where we can do a couple of different things, one of which is this ID function. And that's one of the things I wanted to kind of focus on a little bit for you guys. This is what we call a unique ID column. And in your Excel spreadsheet, you can add your own unique ID column, just unique ID, and then you can put in 3 different numbers and whatever. It could be 1, 2, 3. It could be 01, 01, 02, 03, and then drag it down to fill that. That unique ID column will allow you to automate updates for your data. So if you're going to be importing data and doing a lot of updating, and you down the road, it saves you time. You won't have to do a total re-import. Now, MapBusinessOnline would look through any column in the data, and I didn't have one, and it will apply that unique function, that unique ID function, and get that update ready for you for the next time you need to do an update. But we've got an additional way for you to apply that unique ID without having to create your own column if you've got a column of data in there that's unique. So if you've got a column of data for like customer number, or those are all unique all the way down, you can pick it here. And then MapBusinessOnline will apply it. But often people get the data in, and now what are they going to do? Oh, I forgot to do a unique ID. Well, we have a solution for that, and I'm going to show you that solution in just a moment. So you can actually go down here and put call out information in. So you can grab from your columns of data, whatever information you want to show in a call out when you hover over the point. At that point, you've got 5 flexible call outs that you've picked. You've dealt with the unique ID, and organization name is usually pretty straightforward. I would typically click plot, but that would take a few minutes to get 25,000 records in. That's why I've got it already baked here, like the Galloping Gourmet. Map Business Online, we take that plot record and put it into Map Business Online, and you get points all over the map, just like that. And then the data window will pop up with your data set here. And again, I went in and changed the name. I just went in and changed it from homeless shelters, from HIC 2020, whatever that file name was, and changed it to a name that is going to make people feel comfortable when they look at the map. Don't distract them with bizarre names over here. It's easy to edit. All right, so now I've got points on the map, and I want to convert those points into something that makes a little bit more sense, typically by color coding. Now you could do color code by circles. You can do some heat mapping by numeric values. In this case, with homeless shelters, I want to show where they are and a little bit more about them. And so I clicked on the symbols button. Click next. So we're going to color code our data by a column in the data. And I went down, I liked year-round beds, which made sense to me. What are the total number of beds year-round in any given homeless shelter? And I've already gone in once and set this up so you can see it. But again, you'll notice I put a 1 in here to differentiate it from 0. And there were a bunch of homeless shelters that didn't have a numeric value, or they had 0 in the column for year-round beds. And there was one in New York City that I found that did have 3,865 beds in one shelter. I was surprised to see that. So I made it go from 1 to 25, 25 to 100, 101 to 500, and then 501 to 365. Again, all editable. From a symbol point of view, you can go in and choose from our library of symbols. So there's a whole bunch of them in here. And you can import your own symbols. And if your industry has a set of symbols that you don't see in the map application, let us know. We'll take a look at it. Maybe it makes sense for us to add it here. It all depends on costs and that kind of thing. But you can see, you can take a picture of Bradley Cooper and make him your symbol if you want. These are symbols I've put in over the years, like hurricane map I was working on. So you can put pretty much anything in there. It's a JPEG, a little JPEG is all you need. And then I like, for this particular application, I like just the circle dots. And you can adjust the size. You can adjust the symbol. You can copy the symbol. So if you pick a symbol, you can copy that to all of them, or you can copy the size that you've got to all of them. So you can see I copied the size there. And now they're all 15%. But I'm going to go back and just kind of make them a little bit bigger the higher up they go. And so I chose to go black, green, yellow, red. Once you're done, you can pick to have a symbol on the map for anything that's got a 0 in your year-round bed, or you can click no symbol. And I found, there are some out there that have that, but I didn't think that those were going to be that relevant, and so I just got rid of them by clicking no symbol. And I click process, and up it comes. Again, you can quickly go back if you decide that you want to go back and make it bigger or a different color. It's easy to just go back and do it. You can do the preview as well. So here's our map. We've got an income map on, and let's open up the map legend to make sure it shows all of the information to your map viewer. So you've got income by city, and you've got the homeless shelters. And when you look at those shelters, you can hover over any particular one, and there's a custom label or a call out that comes up and tells you a little bit about it. And what I found interesting was that a lot of these, there's not many beds there. There's 13 there. All these black ones are 14. This and 28. I also found it interesting. I went down here. Again, I'm going to click my little magnifier, and I looked at the New York area for what it could tell us. And it's funny. I mean, I expected to see a lot of homeless shelters in the Manhattan area. And if we select Manhattan as a city limit, you can see it's highlighted now. We can then do a summary, and we can grab the homeless data, and we can immediately bring a count over, and then go down to that year-round bed and bring that over. And what that does, we click next, that gives us a total count of the shelters in New York City, or in Manhattan anyway, and then the year-round beds. There's 112,095. I mean, that's sort of a picture of where Manhattan is right now with homeless shelters. And you could find more information on the homeless activity around the United States and bring that into this map, and it might have some real value to add to the overall map view. You can add that information to the map in this case. So now you've got like a little bed count there. You can move that around if that was really where you wanted to focus. You've got your legend. So you can see at any particular map view, you can get an image of it. I use the actual snipping tool a lot of the time when I want to have everything I can show on the map. For instance, if I had some information in the data window that I wanted to add to my map view, then I would use the snipping tool to allow all of that to shine through, depending upon what it is that you really want to do with your map. So there's a variety of ways you can now look at that map and increase the value. You can always get rid of the map and data. You can remove the toolbar, and now you're getting a map that starts to sing to your map audience. You've given it a lot of value. So now I'm just reviewing my notes here. Aha, yep, there was one thing I wanted to show you. So we talked about the unique ID. So you've brought your data in, your homeless data, and you didn't put a unique ID in there, and now you want to be able to do an update. You're going to have to import the whole thing all over again? Well, not necessarily. Under map and data, there are map options, and there's several that you can turn on that will help you with this function. So I'm going to, under map options, you can actually go to map updates here, and you can choose right now, right here, to update data sets when an update is available. And that means whenever you open up the project or open up Map Business Online, that data set gets updated. You can also go into the actual data itself. And this is where you have here. So this, look, I'm going to just do that again. So I did the edit here. And then I went down here, update the data set by uploading a new file or reload the data set from a server. So options, click options, and this lets you go find a row. And I found that the row number, which is a row in this data set, was good for doing the unique ID update. It was unique. And if it wasn't, the Map Business Online would come back and tell you, nope, this isn't going to work. Once you've done that, then if you want to just do a quick update and see what the records are, you've got the ability to just run that, and it'll tell you, oh, we did 3 updates and 2 deletions. And so you do get a little report back that helps you with updates. Updates can be very helpful. Okay, so we looked at that, the label options. I think that's pretty much what we wanted to do. We've gone on about 40 minutes, which is what I expected. So I'm going to minimize Map Business Online, and I'm going to look at the chat request. Let's see. Okay, well, Melissa, we will be sending a recording of the video, a video recording around. So all of this will be there for you to see. I joined late. Yep, it is being recorded. Yep, a recording will be sent around. Territories in the States. That's good. If your category starts at 1, why is there the light blue? Let's go back and look at that. So in terms, look at that. You want to add these columns. So they found some new data columns in the data set. That's probably from me. So in my categories, where I went from 1 to 44,000, that light blue represents 65,000 to 95,000. That's why there's light blue there. I started at 1 for the gray area, 1 to 45,000. So I hope that's answering your questions. If your category starts at 1, why is there the light blue? And maybe what you're talking about is the image. Did I put this image up? I don't even think I did. So I had this image of a map I meant to pull up earlier, which shows you, I think, another demographic map that I built at one point in time, and it shows counties with employment status, not in the labor force. So I got that out of Map Business Online options, and then here's just a county map for employment. And I think Map Business Online counties do really well for that sort of view, and I like the way we had 5 ranges here, and the 5 was really to cover like that gamut up to 2,884,000. That was a lot. So, you know, I did have more ranges there, but I felt that was a good map. Okay, we're done with the update. I'm looking, and I think that's all the questions I had. If there's any more questions, feel free to type them over. But yes, we will be sending the recording around, and I hope that that this webinar helps you guys kind of get a sense of how to add value to your maps. There's just a lot of opportunities in Map Business Online to do that. And sometimes, you know, you've got in map options, you've got the ability to, you know, to really do some changes to your map. You've got the, you know, map title, which is another place where you can describe your map's intent. You know, this is why we built this map. And never underestimate, you know, the ability of people to not get it, because it's business, right? We're all busy, and we all want to, you know, get done with our day as soon as possible, and we don't want to spend a lot of time looking at, you know, really bold symbols on a map and color schemes that are kind of overwhelming. So use the tools that are available and add value to your map. I'm just going to check and make sure there's no more questions. All right, that's it. I thank you all very much for coming, and have a great weekend. Take care.